Salutations, utopians. Hope all is well in your world. Another great day and one of the greatest off seasons of all time in the NBA. Um, Today, I think I'm going to just do everything in one video instead of chopping it up on a team and player uh, transaction by transaction basis. So I'll just make everything one video, consolidate everything in one area. The morning started off early with the Detroit Pistons getting on the board, signing John Collins to a 3-year, $51 million deal. I kind of have Collins and Brandon Ingram in the same category in terms of guys who've been around the league in different situations, and I think they're both due for the best seasons of their career. I know Ingram made an All-Star, but the season kind of fizzled out near the end with the Raptors in the post once they got to the playoffs. And Collins was a guy who the Clippers was just a very odd situation, with everything looming, and they just kind of it was very difficult. But this is one of the league's best players, quiet kept players. He averages career wise 16-8 against the Pistons through 20 games. So obviously, as you know, they moved off Brandon Stewart and a little bit of a negotiation showdown with Jalen Duran. Tobias Harris went to San Antonio. Uh, Granted, that was after this news had dropped. But I like the move for the Pistons. They get athletic, more up tempo. Excuse me. Um, and just getting a guy a little bit more athletic. I'm gonna say with the Isaiah Joe and John Collins acquisitions, I will say this. Even though I had Cade Cunningham as my MVP this year before the injuries, before the big time rib injury, I do think that I don't find Cade to be like a mutant like Giannis or LeBron. These are complementary moves. I felt like the Pistons needed to go out and get a 1B. These are guys who are like third and fourth option guys. They're definitely upgrades from a standpoint of like they're more up tempo. They're a little more athletic. I think Isaiah Joe can be a level up from Duncan Robinson, who was more catch and shoot. Even though I do like how Duncan Robinson was rebounding for the Pistons at certain stretches of the year, but the Pistons have made a lot of complimentary moves. This was definitely, I think, a worthy gamble, but this is a guy who can easily be a 50-40, not quite 90, but 50-40, 70, 80 on the free throw line type of dude. Athletic. You put him next to Duran. There's no telling what he could make of himself. But it's a great complimentary move. Just I think it was a solid addition. Then fast forward, the Norman Powell goes to the Chicago Bulls on a 2-year, 45 million. His agent did a great job. Norman Powell, I find him to fit in this category with like the Grayson Allens, where it's like they're not a bench play, they're not a six man, they're also not a starter. They'll give you all-star production, but they're not an all-star. I don't know. It's just a very uh, this new breed of players you're seeing more and more that are like it's hard to put a real exact title on them, but they're a big time producer. The only problem is it fits the theme with Chicago. It's like they're getting ready for a lot of injuries or something this year because it's like my gripe with Caleb Wilson, their draft pick. It's just like there's just so much depth already. It's like nothing can seem to materialize when you have this level of depth. You know what I mean? You need to have like a hierarchy, first string, second string, third string. I don't get that from the Bulls. It's just like there's no drop off. There's like it's just kind of tricky, you know what I mean? I think he's definitely got the right kind of point guard and Giddy to really help him continue with what he's been doing with his career. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie. I know I'm very impressed with the Chicago Bulls GM's resume. He drafted, from my understanding, he's coming from New Orleans, was an intricate part in the pickups of Herb Jones and Trey Murphy, who are every day in the trade rumor mill. But I feel like this might be the end of the road for Norman Powell. If I'm being honest with you, I think the run has stopped here for him, and it just yeah, I don't see. I don't know, man. I don't know if he's going to continue being that 22, 23, 24 points a game kind of guy. we'll see. I'm not hoping for it, obviously, but it's just a little crazy. Um, Another interesting move, which segued into another interesting move, but I'll just leave it at Nikola Vucevic, who last year was acquired at the trade deadline for Anthony Simmons and yeah, for Anthony Simmons, decided to leave the Celtics and go to and return with the Magic, where I'm pretty sure he'll go to retire. He just never seemed to be a fit in Boston, surprisingly enough. And so now he's going to go somewhere where it's familiar. Similar thing kind of happened with Jonathan Isaac, to a lesser degree. Was cut this offseason. Thought he would have been a great replacement to Mitchell Robinson. He elects to re-sign with the Magic, even though they're loaded in the front court. Mo Wagner, who I'll get to in a sec, did end up signing with the Brooklyn Nets today. Brooklyn's looking really good, and I'm not saying from a championship contender standpoint, but just a respectable team to go watch. I really like what they're doing. MPJ, Randall, Mikael Brown, their rookie, solid 6'5" combo guard. Igor Demon, same thing, solid combo guard. They're onto something over there in Brooklyn. I respect it. So the depth chart is loosening up. Remember, I said in one of my videos, if you can, that the Magic have so much depth in their front court, they could supply a couple expansion teams. So that was interesting. Mike Conley going to the Celtics. Obviously, the big problem with the Celtics historically, and it kind of reared its ugly head again last year, not having a veteran point guard down the stretch, especially once Tatum returned from his injury. Getting Mike Conley, I guess, could be a stopgap solution, even though they have made a much bigger deal, which still I think will warrant a necessary um, veteran signal caller like Conley. Obviously, he's not going to be the 30 minutes a night kind of guard, but his presence is desperately needed, especially since they haven't seemed to fill the void of losing Drew Holiday off of the Anthony Simons pickup. Talked about Mo Wagner. Um, the next one that was kind of a big deal was Mitchell Robinson leaving the world champion Knicks to go to the Celtics. Not quite sure what the Celtics are doing again. Very head scratching day from the Celtics brass. They got Kaida. I think it would have been healthy to get a change of pace type of center who does something completely opposite. Having two rim running bigs. Don't really quite see how that worked. That would have been to me a more sensible place where you go after Wagner for far less money, and he's a lot more polished. Didn't quite understand this move by the Celtics. They could have used a face-up big, especially with the move they made involving Jaylen Brown. Having a guy who could space the floor a little bit would do wonders for guys like for who they acquired, which I will get to in a second. Now, funny. This is where it got really crazy in a matter of minutes. The Lakers went on a tirade, starting with the first domino, Walker Kessler coming over from the Jazz, a guy who is a work in progress on offense, but some have deemed him to be a potential defensive player of the year. Per Shams, Utah got a first unprotected 2031-33 swaps, 28 and 30 swaps. He also got signed to a 4-year 130. Lakers proceeded with that news. Oh, by the way, the 130 also comes with a player option. With that, also they got Mamu from the Raptors, Southpaw, who think of him like a bootleg Julius Randle. And then they got Quentin Grimes off from the 76ers on a 4-year, 60 million. So he's about 15 million a year. And then they got young Colin Sexton to swap out for Marcus Smart. Uh, so that's 4 players essentially, with the money that they were able to get after uh, LeBron announced he will be taking his talents elsewhere. Um, I think Sexton makes a lot of sense from Marcus Smart getting younger. Obviously, Marcus Smart is on the other side of 30. He needs to be in a more playoff atmosphere. I mean, a more veteran atmosphere. Just got a little bit more younger legs. Tenacity is necessary. I think that's one of the biggest issues with 77 on that roster is just on a night to night, bringing that intensity and passion. Having a guy like Colin Sexton is going to really be contagious. His desire to bring it on a night to night basis. Quentin Grimes, he's a guy who's shown a lot of promise from the Knicks. Originally, then he went to Dallas, Philadelphia. This is a guy who is a three-level scorer, one of the most polished mechanics on in terms of jump shots in the league. Three-level scorer, very explosive, physical, big, strong for a two guard who can masquerade as a three on some matchups. Very explosive, can attack the gaps really well. He's been looking for an opportunity. His patience seems to have paid off. I'm happy for him. Hopefully, he can spread his wings. If one thing about LA, role players can get treated like superstars when you deliver on your role, when you deliver on your job responsibilities. And I have no reason to believe that he can't. Um, Mamu already said he's like a Julius Randle through and through to me. Don't quite. I remember in Toronto, not really a factor on defense, but his floor spacing is special. Again, I think the Lakers are just counting on Walker Kessler to cram the paint, and then everything else, just send everything to the paint, run everyone off the 3 point line, and the Lakers are hoping maybe he gets a decoy or something. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a big time gamble with his injury history. Um, with his injury history, I don't know if that's a guy I would want to. Uh, I don't know if that's a guy I would want to um, spend my last draft picks on. The Lakers have no picks now for the next 7 years. I think this is like Rob Pelinka, like make or break time. So that's what that is. Um, some people were excited about DeAnthony Melton returning to the Warriors on a 2 year, 11 mil. Kelly Oubre going to the Indiana Pacers. That he's an East Coast dude. Um, I'm not sure what's the status with Halliburton, but um, they lost Mathurin at the trade deadline, so you know this is a great swap out. It's a sneaky good acquisition. I think Oubre's shown some bright spots for them last year. He has his moments where sometimes you wonder, like, how do why is he not in that like Paul George category? He can be that explosive sometimes and goes on those kind of wild tangents where you're just like, this guy is special, But it's a solid replacement to Mathurin in that guard rotation. I know he's more of a small forward than a two, but either way, he gets buckets on the wing. Tobias Harris was a little bit of a shocker leaving Detroit on a modest two-year, 31 million, joining the Spurs. He fits that personality that they want around Wemby. I think it'd be a seamless transition with Vassell. Remember, they took Terrace Reed and then another big from Kentucky who will miss, I think, pretty much at least the first half of this season with the Spurs. But they already got Terrace Reed, who reminds me a lot of Jalen Duran, ironically. And then you have, uh, uh, Tobias there. I think he could be a great mentor, help speed along the development of a lot of the young bigs that the Spurs took in the first round. Also, great complementary player to Wemby. He's going to be a seamless pick. Is it the long term answer there? No, but he's got enough bricks in his back pocket to help Wemby on bigs, and still athletic enough to rotate and allow Wemby to and get up under defenders. I mean, get up under offensive penetrators or post scores to where Wemby can recover and help out over the top. So it was a great pickup to me. I think for the Spurs, it's right on brand. Then the big time bombshell news today: the Celtics agreeing to a trade with the Philadelphia Sixers. Jaylen Brown, the saga is over for PG Paul George. If they can get the Paul George that was on peptides, maybe I think it can make sense in the short term. The Celtics seem like they just needed economic relief. I don't think that Paul George necessarily is that. I would have at least expected them to get a guy on an expiring contract. Paul George is still under contract through 27 and 28. He's clearly lost a step judging by last year. I think the Celtics are counting on Tatum to go super Scion this year. And so, 2028 first round pick that can convert from a first to a swap. with the Celtics, whatever's more favorable. 2031 unprotected from Philadelphia. Uh, that's a first round pick, that is. And then a 2028 second round pick, whichever is most favorable between the Warriors, Thunder, Milwaukee. Also, they get a 2030, whichever is more favorable from the Wizards, Portland, Trailblazers, or the Phoenix Suns. Um, Underwhelming. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see any sneaky good role player that they can help further expand. I think the Celtics are depending on trying to make Derek White more of a household player. Uh, they got Cenac in the draft. They get Mitchell Robinson. They got Kada, Mike Conley. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the Celtics know their days are numbered in terms of their playoff championship aspirations. They're going to remain competitive, but this is definitely not a team that scares me. Um, this was a step back for Philly. I mean, for Boston. On the other hand, for the Philly, even though I don't think Jaylen Brown is the most pressing need that they needed to get. I think having a point guard, even though LeBaron Philon, I think is has a lot of qualities that could be day one ready for them, especially with a strong showing in summer league. Uh, I do, Philon, as I alluded to a while ago in one of my videos, he reminds me of Dennis Schroeder. There's a lot of scoring going on. It's funny. I mean, I think it's pretty much the cat is out the bag. Jaylen Brown calling out Joel Embiid as a flopper. And just overall, I think the Sixers brand of basketball is a little not on par with how JB likes to play. But and it's going to be an adjustment because it's kind of arcade style of hoops with VJ being only in his second year, even though he was showing a lot of day one ready traits last year and at times looked like the rookie of the year. Maxi, obviously one of the best scoring point guards in the league. He represents what I think the league is slowly shifting out of a little bit in terms of score first guards, but uh, he's definitely very effective. Set the franchise record last season for the Sixers in 3-pointers made all time. He's going to probably be up there in the all-time list of scorers. A lot is going to be contingent on just what does Joel Embiid have left, but this allows them to at least at the time being, rely less on Joel Embiid. But it'll be interesting to see if they go after some more players in free agency, maybe a Kuminga. The Sixers are doing a lot to accommodate Joel Embiid's window, whatever is left of it. But they definitely came out as the winners. I think the Celtics just wanted to rid themselves with the publicity of Brown in terms of just the locker room and spirit of the team. But this was a long time coming. At least they can get some closure. I don't know what Paul George has left, but he does play that smooth style of play that he won't step on Tatum. I think the priority this year is let Tatum just go crazy. It is what it is. Not the most craziest about it. But from the Celtics, I think they could have definitely found. I mean, if that's the case, I'd rather go Kuminga before I do this. At least you get a power forward over there or something. This I don't understand it, but and it seems like the Celtics wanted him to go to somewhere like Philly. It's just crazy. Philly ended their postseason this year, and then they go and send him there. It's kind of weird. Whatever. I don't know, man. That's the executive of the year, though. They voted him 2 times now. The Grizzlies getting Aldama and for AJ Johnson in 2030. I don't even think I remember AJ Johnson's game, but 2030 Warriors first round pick in 2 seconds. Uh, it's funny because I thought Jeremy Grant should get moved from the Jaw trade. They would, relocate him because it's kind of like it's like a overkill of what they already have with respect to Saldama, Gigi Jackson, and then Grant. But now it's apparent that Saldama's getting relocated, another one of those pieces that not necessarily part of the Ja era, but I thought he was, someone, they just extended him last year. I thought he was part of the future nucleus. The Maverick Swanningham is interesting. Might be a sign that PJ Washington is going to be relocated. But I guess Jeremy Grant's going to be remaining there in Memphis more and more. It seems that way. Interesting deal, getting someone to. I guess he'll be like a backup to Cooper Flag. He kind of does what Cooper does. He's kind of the same kind of archetype. So I don't know. He's not a power. He's not a pure power forward for sure. So that was kind of unusual. But um, it's Masai Ujiri. He knows what he's doing. Is the first guy off the bench maybe. Like I said, it seems like PJ Washington is on the bubble at the moment. There might be some team that really wants him. He was a great pickup for the previous regime. I know they love to talk about the Luka trade, but PJ Washington was a big time steal from Charlotte, who stepped right into being a great player. So we'll see how this all plays out, but this was a busy day, very entertaining. Liked what I seen. Let's stay tuned and see what happens tomorrow. Hope this video was informative, Utopians. I'll try to do better next time. Global out.